Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Our largest single-theme land expansion ever.
Now we want you to share with us our latest and greatest dream.
Matterhorn Matt presents Matterhorn Mondays.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 94 of Matterhorn Mondays, coming to you live from the Outpost. I'm your host, Matterhorn Matt.
And I'm Alex the Historian.
And today we got a great episode planned for you guys. We're innovating here on the Matterhorn Mondays podcast, you guys. As you can see, as many of you may notice, my camera's different. I figured out a way to stream my DSLR camera to my computer, and it's really laggy. The FPS is really bad. So I'll figure that out, hopefully next time, next stream. And then I have the other camera angle. Oh wow, didn't see you guys over there. So, oh yeah. So welcome everybody to the stream. We got a great stream planned for you guys. Yeah, new intro song as well. I just slapped that together. I'll probably refine it within the next couple episodes before episode 100. We do have 6 weeks to go, so. And I guess I decided I'm not gonna go with the tiki theme. I'm gonna theme my whole closet to the cue of the Matterhorn. I guess it'd be neat to call my closet, which is where I'm recording this from. We can sort of like call it the Outpost, and the Outpost is where we record Matterhorn Mondays, as well as the Discord is called the Mountaineers Outpost. So maybe we'll introduce. It's nice to have some sort of like continuity or like lore, I guess, behind the podcast. I don't know. It sounds dumb, but anyways, we got a great stream. I'm just rambling on, you guys. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. But we got a great stream planned for you guys. But before we get into any of that, I do want to say this episode is sponsored by all of my patrons over on patreon.com/MatterhornMatt. And also links to my Twitter, the Discord server, and my Instagram are all in the description below. Feel free to check out those links. If you're ever wondering why Matterhorn Mondays is not live on a Saturday, just head over to my Twitter. You'll probably see an explanation. Maybe we changed the date. Maybe we pushed the time back an hour, pushed it ahead an hour. It's nice to keep updated when it comes to the streams, and my Twitter is a great place to do that. And I do want to give a shout out to this website. I'll link it in the description below. Puckermint.com. Based out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is only like a few hours up north from where I'm located. Puckermint makes really great pins. They got some Disney pins, also some New Mexico pins. I think a Colorado one as well. Just a quick shout out to them. Not sponsored or anything, just a shout out. But we may or may not have a spooky story today, if we have enough time. I don't know time for the spooky stories, but I do know for sure that we have a birthday coming up this week. So let me just load up the birthday calendar. I'm pretty sure this week I'm pretty sure it's on the 25th. And if it'll let me click, it's not. I swear there was a birthday. Maybe I'm not. Oh, I'm not on the right account. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties. Here we go. So the 25th is Avery's birthday. Avery was here in chat a while ago. There. If you scroll up, you can see Avery in the chat. But yeah. So happy birthday to Avery on the 25th of June. Anyone else experiencing a little lag from Matt? The camera. I'll work out all the kinks by next episode. The FPS is really bad on the camera, and the software I'm using to stream it to. So yeah, no worries. That'll be fixed by next week's episode. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into this week's News from the Peak.
We now present to you News from the Peak.
Oh, that's not the right scene. Oh, that's awkward. All right, here we go. News from the Peak. For our first bit of News from the Peak, Soarin' over California has been extended through August 31st with weekly pass holder. Oh my gosh.
I told you people. Didn't I say it?
He did.
It's gonna stay, and it's gonna extend. Just expect when we go into August, they're gonna be like, oh, by the way, it's staying forever.
Yeah. So shout out to Alex who predicted it before anybody else. It's kind of interesting. They do say weekly pass holder access. Links to all these articles will be in the description down below. I guess annual pass holders, the website says that they can enjoy an extra hour at Soarin' after the park closes every Thursday night beginning June 27th through the end of July. So that's pretty cool. If maybe the lines are too crowded during the day, you can hang around after California Adventure closes if you have an annual pass, and then you can ride the ride with all the other APs. That's pretty neat. I don't think I'm sure Disney's done it before, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head. For our second bit of Disney news, Pixar did announce a new film coming in 2020 titled Soul. And I'm going to go ahead and read the description for you guys. Quote, "Ever wonder where your passion, your dreams, and your interests come from? Well, that's not what it says. What is it that makes you, you? 1 year from today, Pixar Animation Studios will take you on a journey from the streets of New York City to the cosmic realms to discover the answer to life's most important questions. Disney and Pixar's Soul arrives in theaters June 19th, 2020. So, interesting. Pixar is releasing 2 films in 2020, as you may remember. Onward, starring Tom Holland, and what's his name? Chris Pratt as well. I think my camera just died, so that's really awkward. But the last time Pixar did release 2 films in 1 year, I believe it was Up and The Good Dinosaur. I know it was The Good Dinosaur. I'm not sure if it's Up 100%, but and we all know how The Good Dinosaur turned out. So I don't know. we'll see how this turns out. But for our last, but certainly not least bit of news. Inside Out and The Good Dinosaur, yes, that's right. Apologies. Avengers Endgame is to be re-released with additional footage, you guys. The film came within $50 million of beating Avatar as the highest-grossing film of all time. And this is set to be re-released next weekend. So if you're watching this on Monday or after, it means this weekend. But since we're recording this on Saturday, it's next weekend. So, I'm sure you can all guess the reason why Disney's doing this. They want to beat Avatar, you guys. And then once Avengers Endgame finally beats Avatar, they're going to re-release Avatar to beat Endgame. And they're just going to keep flip-flopping back and forth. So Disney can make $1 trillion, billion, quadrillion off these 2 movies. And what's interesting is that this will not be an extended cut of the film, but the new footage will be after the credits. So it's not like the Snyder cut or whatever of the Justice League that everybody wanted. You're going to have to sit and wait all 3 hours before you get to see the new footage. So, yeah. I think my camera just died. Let me just, double check. Maybe if I turn it on and off. Oh my gosh. This is so awkward, you guys. I'm so embarrassed right now. Oh my gosh, that's so awkward.
As you should be.
I guess I should have charged it beforehand. But anyways, that does it for this week's news from the Peak. And I guess you guys are just going to have... Additional is spelled wrong? No way, additional is not spelled wrong. A-D... How do you spell it? Oh, it's with 2 D's, not 2 T's. Oh my gosh. I got egg on my face, you guys. Egg is splattered all over my face. But anyways, yeah, so like I said, I'm still working out the kinks to all of this, to this new setup. So we'll just go back to the classic for now until I figure out how everything's going to work. Hello, it's nice to see you guys again. But, yeah. So that does it for this week's news from the Peak. And, let's see, I don't think we have any... Oh, I do have one thing I want to talk about. I guess before we get into that, let's do some Matt Snaps, you guys. I forgot to do this in the intro. Same old mango, bango, bongo. I'll just go ahead and crack that open. And I'll pour it while I discuss the one topic I want to talk about to you guys before we get into the main stuff. I saw Aladdin 2019 the other night. And I'd just like to give my brief thoughts on the film. Oh my gosh. So, yeah. The one thing I want to start with is that it's definitely a movie, all right. It was shot with cameras. It has sound. It has lots of color as well. It's in color, actually. It's not in black and white like most people would expect it to be.
Were there characters in this movie?
There were lots of characters in the movie, surprisingly. Not all of them were good characters, though. But yeah, so Aladdin 2019 is interesting. That's really all the one word that I can use to like sum up my thoughts on the film. It's interesting. It's not as bad as a lot of people made it out to be. It's definitely not good. It's like, so this is the original Aladdin, and then if I move like the scale up like 1,000,000 feet, this is Aladdin 2019, and then just barely above it is Dumbo 2019. So take that as you will. Jafar, the character of Jafar, was very entertaining. I guess you could say there was a lot of points in the movie where I laughed when you weren't supposed to be laughing. Sort of like so bad they're good moments. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. And yeah, I guess that's all I have to say about Aladdin 2019. If you guys want to see it, just wait for it to come out on VHS in a couple years. You'll be fine. But anyways, this is not the picture that I wanted to have up on screen, by the way. Anyways, before we get into that, I do have one more announcement. I forgot to say this last week, but Alex was so grateful as to get me one of these Galaxy's Edge Star Wars maps from the very opening day. What was it, May 23rd, I think, or May 31st, one of those days. And yeah, so I'll just go ahead and open it up and show you guys. So big shout out to Alex the historian, who sadly could not make it today.
No, unfortunately, he was quite busy.
Yeah, too busy for the stream, but yeah, I'll find a way to, or I'll find a place to hang that up somewhere in here to show it off to you guys. But anyways, for our first topic, like I said, this is not the I'll just go ahead and switch to that. Not the picture I wanted, but the Main Street Cinema. Do you guys remember last week we told you about how they put merchandise in the Main Street Cinema? Well, I'm proud to announce that we did it, you guys. Twitter single-handedly avoided another catastrophe in the Disneyland parks. Because Disney did end up removing the merchandise from the Main Street Cinema in Disneyland. And I'm very sad to say I don't have any pictures to show this. There were some on Twitter. I retweeted some if you want to go check them out. I guess I just forgot to get pictures for this, so apologies. But Disney did say that it was meant to help bring more guests into the cinema, which, you know, is a valid reason. I just want to put this out there. That's a valid reason to put merchandise into the Main Street Cinema, because if you've been in the Main Street Cinema, you'll know not a lot of people are always in there. You know, most people just sit in there, take a nap for maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and then leave. You don't see like people standing in there for like an hour rewatching all the cartoons. I mean, I'm sure some people do. But yeah, I just do want to put it out there that it was a valid reason to help get more guests into that wonderful nook of the park. But alas, it was in vain. It was just a terrible idea putting merchandise in there. Completely took away from the immersion, the aesthetic of the place itself. Disneyland also said that they had no intentions of removing the films from the cinema, the cartoon shorts that play during there. But we all know we can definitely trust Disney's word on this. Like when they said the Tower of Terror would not be going away, which I have screenshotted from like 5 years ago on my phone, that tweet that they sent out. New benches have also been placed inside of the cinema to accommodate more people sitting in there and watching the movies, I guess. I've yet to see any pictures of those. If I do find some, I'll retweet them. But Alex, what are your thoughts on this heroic victory of Disneyland finally removing the merchandise from the Main Street Cinema?
Victory? Victory, you say? Master Matt, not victory. Star Wars fans will get that quote. Anyway, so I think that it's great that for now that we were able to avoid this horrible nightmare from being permanent, but it is an omen, a foreshadowing, if you will, of different things to come. Disney's going to keep trying to get people in that theater. I, however, am curious if they had turned the theater into a singleplex and then created like actual theater seating, and then like offered like different kinds of like in-house made concession stuff.
Yeah.
I wonder if it would be like this like cool like theater place that you could go and then like sit down and watch like a Mickey cartoon, and it'll be the same cartoon, whichever one they choose, and it'll play over and over again. That way it will encourage people to want to leave after the cartoon is done. You know what I mean? Because if it were like different cartoons playing one after another, it would make people want to keep staying, and then no one would ever be able to sit down in there. But yeah, I wonder like if they had like handmade candies and special popcorns and maybe even like a snack like version of like something really cool like a twist on a hot dog or something, and then sold it there. Then yeah, I wonder if that place would be more popular. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's a really, I don't know what, like we come up with like good ideas, right? And then Disney goes out and just like plops tables with Mickey Mouse t-shirts in there, and like that's like the easiest route to take for the reasoning they gave to try and get more people into the cinema, while also spending the least amount of money to try and do that also. I guess Alex's idea would require more, funding to produce the snacks and everything, and to, you guys know what I mean. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like ArcD stuff said, like he doesn't think there's enough room in there for a theater, but it is a theater. So it's there's already room enough for it. Like it's already a theater. But I mean, I'm not talking about putting IMAX in there. I mean, just like a really miniature little theater, but with a traditional theater setup where there's rows and stuff like that. And there's plenty of room for that. It would be a very small place, but nevertheless, it doesn't need to be huge, because it's not like it would be garnering the kind of crowds that Fantasmic gets, So yeah, that's my little idea.
Yeah. Have one screen instead of all 6 or however many screens they have. And
I mean, how cool would that be? Like, it's a miniature version of like an old-fashioned Edwardian theater.
Yeah. I don't know what Edwardian means, but I agree that would be really cool.
Oh my god.
I mean, yeah, somewhat.
Have you ever heard of the Victorian era?
Yes.
Okay, Edwardian era came after it.
Oh. Was Edward the name of the man who dedicated the era?
The era was dedicated after him, and he was the King of England.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Same with the Victorian era. The Victorian era was dedicated to the reign of the Queen of England. Victoria.
I don't understand England pop culture, you guys. I'm an American. Just kidding.
I'm an Anglophile, so when I hear like English stuff, I catch on pretty quick.
Okay. Well, I'm a popcorn-ophile, and they should sell popcorn in the main street cinema. I feel like they should have been doing that from the very beginning. It's a cinema. Cinemas are known for, selling popcorn and like candy and stuff. Alex's idea is great. Disney, if you're watching this, which you may or may not be, I don't know. Bob Iger, if you're watching this, I'm speaking directly to you, Bobby. Listen to us. Please listen to Alex's idea.
Anyways. How you did that, just Bobby.
It's like I'm his mom, like scolding him or something. But anyways, on to our second main topic of the day. In case you guys didn't know, this Monday, the 24th. Whenever you're watching this, it's this Monday for us on Saturday. This Monday is the opening day for Galaxy's Edge to the public, basically. You don't need any reservations to get in, quote-unquote reservations. So I figured we could sort of run down the list of the things that are going to be happening. I don't know how to segue into this topic, but anyways, this information that I'm reading off to you guys comes to us from Blog Mickey, which is one of the best Disney blog news sites out there. I think I said this a few weeks ago, but shout out to Blog Mickey if you're watching this. You're doing great work. So opening day operations of Galaxy's Edge on June 24th, 2019. A virtual queue will be used to help get guests into the land after its opening on the 24th, and you can sort of enter, quote-unquote, enter this virtual queue using the Disneyland app. Guests can create, they call it a boarding group, which is a pretty neat name. I'm guessing you can. I'm guessing it'll be like booking a fast pass with, with Max Pass. You select your party, add people to your party, and then you can create your, quote-unquote boarding group to enter the land. And the app will save your spot in a virtual line, and you'll get notified of a time to enter the land on that same day you've made the reservation. You have to be in the park to make this reservation, by the way. Which is weird because it's not actually a reservation, but it's a reservation to get into the land. So you still technically need a reservation to get into the land. And again, these time limits will be limited to 4 hours per...
Wait. I don't recall Mickey Blog saying that it was a limited time. And I've been hearing from other sources that it's just a time when to return. But supposedly, as soon as you're in the land, you can stay as long as you want.
I don't remember where I heard that it was going to be a 4-hour limit.
I think you heard it from here. I think we
Probably,
talked about it last week.
Yeah, that's just what I've heard. It's going to be limited to 4 hours, just like the reservations. But I don't know. I could be wrong. Most of the time I am wrong on this show, you guys. So take that piece with a grain of salt. We'll update you next week as we find out whether or not there's going to be a time limit to get into the land. For guests without a smartphone, you can still get a paper fast pass to get into the land at select fast pass locations like the Haunted Mansion, Indiana Jones Adventure, and at the Matterhorn. So I'm guessing they're going to dedicate maybe 1 or 2 of those kiosks to getting a spot in line to get into Galaxy's Edge, which is a pretty neat idea. T-Will says that there are no reservations to get into Galaxy's Edge in Hollywood Studios. That's true. There will be no reservation period for getting into the land in Hollywood Studios. So yeah, it is kind of interesting, but I guess since Hollywood Studios is its own thing, whereas Disneyland is a whole separate experience from besides Galaxy's Edge. I mean, they want as many people in Hollywood Studios as they can get. So they're not going to be limiting people to 4-hour time limits or getting reservations. So that's just my thought on that. But yeah, Disney also announced reservations to get into Oga's Cantina and Savvy's Workshop to build your own lightsaber, and guests who want to experience these attractions will have to book a reservation online. You'll need a valid credit card if you want to do Savvy's Workshop. And I heard somewhere that if you book a reservation to get into Savvy's Workshop to build your own lightsaber, and if you don't end up showing, like you for some reason can't make it to the reservation, you'll still be charged the $200 for the lightsaber. I heard that. I don't remember. I heard that on Twitter somewhere. Don't know if it's true. It'd be pretty funny if it is true, getting charged for not getting to experience it. I don't know. But Alex, what are your thoughts on these Galaxy's Edge announcements for its grand opening to the public?
Well, it sounds pretty easy and straightforward to me. I I don't know. All I know is I downloaded the Disney Parks app just like a week ago or more, and I was trying it out, and I finally saw the plight of people who have the Parks app. It is so incredibly slow.
Yeah.
I was like wanting to like beat myself over the head with my cell phone. But yeah, so other than that, I mean, it sounds really straightforward. Like, I know like Matt and I have heard conflicting information, but from what I heard, and I'm usually right about this stuff, you guys.
It's true, you guys. It's true.
But yeah, I heard that you reserve your little boarding pass to get in the land on the Disney Parks app, and then you have 2 hours to return. And what is that?
Oh, it's slime. Sorry.
Oh, you're always distracting me. I can never say what I want to say because you're distracting. Okay, so yeah, so you get your boarding pass on your phone, and then you have up to 2 hours to get to the land after your boarding pass is ready to go. Like when it's ready to be redeemed. I mean, you know. And you have up to 2 hours, and once you go in there and you're in the land, supposedly you can stay there as long as you want. So I don't know.
So then it'll be more of like a first come, first serve kind of thing, because you're gonna, of course, you're gonna have guests that get their reservation for like 8:30 in the morning when the park opens, and then they're just gonna stay there the whole day. I don't know if that'll like not allow other guests to come in, but
the longest I ever see someone staying in Galaxy's Edge is 5 hours. And the reason why I say that is because I was there twice for two different 4-hour periods, and I mean, we pretty much did most everything in that time period, save for maybe, I don't know, the lightsaber experience or Oga's Cantina. If we had one more hour, we could have gotten that done. So honestly, in that 4-hour period, even if you don't do those two things, you've had plenty of time to walk around the land several times over, take plenty of pictures. I mean, you'll be surprised how much you can get done in a matter of 3 hours in that land, as opposed to the extra hour you get during the reservation period. So honestly, I only see people really wanting to stay in that land for maybe 5 hours. There might be a few rare people who are super fans who will want to stay as long as possible. Yeah, of course. But I mean, the average person who isn't a super fan will probably stay there at most like 5 hours, honestly.
Okay. Yeah, T-Will says they might stay longer when Rise of the Resistance opens. I was very confused by that comment because I forgot what Rise of the Resistance was till I remembered.
I don't think we'll have to worry about that for around another year.
Alex is sort of...
I'm not saying anything, but I'm saying something, you know?
Poor Rise of the Resistance. He brought into this world, but he was not ready to be brought into this world. I don't know where I'm going with this. But anyways, that really, I think that does...
You're so very not poetic.
I know. I try to be so bad, but I just fail so bad as well. But anyways, I think that does it for that Galaxy's Edge topic. And now I figured Alex has been to the land twice already, like he just said. So I figured we can have, for all of you people visiting Galaxy's Edge after the reservation period, from this point on, Monday the 24th, to another time in the future. For those of you guys wondering, wow, what do I do? What should be the first thing that I do once I enter Galaxy's Edge? Should I wait in line for the cantina first? Should I get on the Millennium Falcon tours first, attraction first? Alex is going to sort of give us a rundown on the must-see things for Galaxy's Edge. So, Alex, why don't you take it away?
Right. Well, so okay, so I'm gonna tell you guys the must-sees of land. Maybe you should do, first or one after another, or however you decide. Anyway, the point is, a few episodes ago, I was telling you what to do step by step. That was for people who had reservations in order to maximize their time. However, if my sources are correct and this time around there will be no time limit, then there's no point in me telling you what to do first and then next. So instead, I'm going to give you must-sees, because you just may have plenty of time. And if you don't, then go back a few episodes, and Matt just abandoned us. So anyway, so must-sees. Rise of the Resistance. I'm sorry. Oh my god. Oh my god. Why did I say that? Oh my god. Oh no. Smugglers Run, people. Smugglers Run.
That was amazing.
That was amazing. It's like almost like, oh god, that was horrible. Okay, so Smugglers Run. That is definitely a must-see. There's a lot of mixed reviews about it. That doesn't mean that there's a disproportional amount of reviews. That doesn't mean that half the people hate it, half the people like it. So far it looks like about 80 to 90% of people who write it love it. The other 10 to maybe 20% are people who expected more, maybe hyped themselves up a bit more and didn't get what they were expecting. So nevertheless, there's a great big chance you'll love this ride. I know I did. I, for one, wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was. So anyway, that is a great one to see. Lots of details, lots of fun, and it's great, especially for kids, because it's easy to understand. And don't worry, you're not going to be so bad at piloting the thing that you're going to crash it and end the show early. That doesn't happen. So, anywho, so next thing, I would definitely go to the marketplace. Give yourself plenty of time to see the marketplace. There's a lot of stuff to see. It's very small, but there's a lot of stuff to see, including Ronto roasters, and things like that. And then there's Doc Ondar's Den of Antiquities. That's not necessarily in the marketplace, but it's right next to it, and it's really cool. And you would never know there's a shop in there unless someone told you, like me. So, when you go in there, there's a lot of really cool Jedi and Sith stuff to see, and lots of merchandise to sift through. Anyway, bad joke. So. Oh, that was horrible. Okay, so yeah, so those are definitely on the top of the list, especially on my list. If you're the kind of person that really likes to try out new alcoholic drinks, you might want to consider devoting a good amount of your time for waiting in line for Oga's Cantina. There you will also see the brand new DJ Rex animatronic, who plays Cantina music. Anyway, so yeah. And then however, if building a lightsaber and having the whole experience is more worth it to you, then I would try to choose between which one of those to do first, because honestly, depending on how much time you have, you may need to choose between the two, because there's no way you're going to be able to wait in a 2-hour line for a lightsaber and then wait in a 2-hour line for the cantina. So, I suppose they're gonna do reservations for that anyway, aren't they? So, well, I don't know how that's gonna work. Okay, anyway, yes. So, decide which one you want to see first, and then lastly, for must-sees, I would say take a walk around the whole land. Make sure you allot some time to just casually stroll through the whole place. See it, soak it in, experience it. There's plenty of walk around characters. no, the characters do not stay in one place and form a line so you can meet them. That's not how it works in Galaxy's Edge. They
Conga
walk
line
around.
with Ray, yeah.
So, wow. So yeah, you have to chase them down, and one thing I must mention on my list is try one of the milks, either the blue milk or the green milk. I know that's also getting a lot of mixed reviews, but I personally liked it. My expectations for the milk were surpassed. Like, I was expecting like actual like cow's milk that tasted really funky, but instead what I got was even better. A plant-based milk that was delicious and delightful, and next time I go back to this land, I am definitely spending a lot of money on that blue milk. So, anywho, Carrie asks, do you think the cantina will have a 2-drink limit? As far as I know, they are still going to keep their 45-minute maximum time of being able to stay in there, as well as a drink limit of probably 2 or 3 drinks. I'm not quite sure about that because I haven't looked into it, but it does sound familiar what you just said. So yeah, I think probably a 2 or 3 drink limit when you go in there. So choose wisely, my friends. And there's no more questions for me. Oh, okay. All right. So yeah, that's my list of must-sees.
All right. Well, while Alex is doing that, I was trying to replace the battery in my camera, and I think I got it. But anyways, thank you to Alex.
I didn't really like the Droid Depot that much.
Did you buy a droid? Did you build one?
No, but I stood right there watching people like collecting the parts and then putting it together, and it's like I said like before, like I didn't really like it because the droids looked really cheap, and I know a few people who actually work in Galaxy's Edge, and they've said that like unless you're like playing with the droid on a perfectly even ground surface, you can almost expect them to fall over and like gash themselves. So it's just like, yeah, like people have been like running their little R2-D2s around the land, and then it snags on like an uneven pavement surface, and then it falls over and like it gets like cracked or like the paint gets like chipped off and stuff, and it's made of a really cheap plastic. So you guys, I wouldn't spend $100 on that. I might spend $50 on it, but not $100. So take that with a grain of salt too, because it also depends on how much you value owning one of those droids.
Yeah, I wouldn't really. I mean, I guess if I was rich enough, I'd get a droid and a lightsaber. I'd say focus more your time on building a lightsaber if that's what you're into, but if you don't feel like spending $200, then droid's a nice second option, I guess.
I heard the lightsabers are really cool. I mean, maybe not as good as that super $300 expensive one that you can get like online, but they're cool in their own respect, and supposedly they're designed to really be like played with, I think. Unless I heard the opposite, like don't play with them. But I don't know. The point is that the experience is really cool, and the lightsaber ends up being really like authentic looking. I mean, except for the fact that it doesn't have actual plasma laser coming out the end of it, but yeah.
Wait, it doesn't? What? I've been lied to.
I heard that they tried, but many people were practicing and getting their limbs cut off, so...
I mean, worthy sacrifice for 1 million children's hours of fun. I don't know what I'm saying. So yeah, thank you, Alex, for giving that. What is it? Must-see things, must-do things for Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. And we love to hear everybody's experiences who ended up going to Galaxy's Edge, either, after the 24th, onward. Comment down below, I guess. I don't know what to say. But we do have a last topic. Last but not least, this topic comes to us from Alex the Historian. And this is a sort of survival guide. Disneyland survival guide for people who hate crowds. Now, I'm sure you have at least one person in your family, you guys listening, who is not a fan of the crowds at Disneyland, doesn't want to go to Disneyland because they don't want to get kicked in the shins, get their shins run over by strollers, fall into the lagoon, whatever. That doesn't really have anything to do with crowds, but I mean,
it was just important to mention. I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, me myself, I don't mind the crowds. I handle well in a crowded situation, but there are some moments for me where I just gotta take a step back, find a nice secluded place to just chill out, and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna, like I said, it's a survival guide for people who hate crowds. So let's go ahead and start off with Alex. What is your first tip, I guess, on how people can deal with the crowds at Disneyland?
Okay, so a first little thing that I must mention is my credibility. So I know a lot of people think like I'm just like another Disney fan who's giving you advice, but I have been a cast member for 6 years at the resort, working amongst the people walking around the park. I was even in guest relations. And then on top of that, I've been going to Disneyland on a consistent basis since 2004. And even before that, I was going to Disneyland. So I know the crowds at Disneyland very well. I know what happens when they get there and, all that stuff. So that is my little safety net of credibility for you guys. So I do know what I'm talking about, I think. So, okay. So first and foremost, what to expect. It doesn't matter what the hours of the park are. Usually the crowds start showing up in full force between the hour of 10 and 11. I guess you would say hours, but literally within that 60-minute time period, you can expect a very quick increase in the amount of crowds. I don't know why, but everyone loves to show up by 11 a.m. So I don't know what it is. It's just everyone just assumes that it's going to be super crowded in the morning and maybe they don't show up. But anyway, expect that between 10 and 11 a.m. at Disneyland, you will start seeing the crowds dramatically increase. By noon, the park will be completely like at its peak of guests, and it will stay at its peak until like 5 p.m. when there's a slight, very small, gradual drop off of people. People don't actually leave the park. Again, this depends on the hours, but people don't actually leave the park until after the fireworks show. Mm-hmm. Usually the fireworks show is around 9 o'clock. That also depends on weather and scheduling of the park. Sometimes if the park is closing early, they might have the fireworks show at 8. So nevertheless, the fireworks show is generally when you start noticing the crowds going away, because everybody wants to get their kids in bed. So, it's just they don't want their kids to stay up that late. That's when you start seeing all the families go and the big Disney fans remain. The good news about the super Disney fans is a lot of times they're pretty respectful on rides. Take that how you will. But so anyway, that's just an overview of the crowds in the park. So anyone who watches my vlogs, they see quite often my vlogs show almost no one in the park, and they misconstrue that as, oh, it's not a busy day. But you see, I film my vlogs at 8 in the morning when the park opens, because that's when there's very little people in the park. That's when it's easy to get shots of things without people's heads in the way. So yes. So I'd say the best time of day to enjoy Disneyland is between when it opens and 10 a.m. So yeah. So try to get on as many of the rides, do as many of the things you can between those usually 2 hours, between 8 to 10 a.m. And anyway, next thing, next part of the subject. So the person that you are with that hates crowds might not even know they hate crowds. I was there almost 2 weeks ago with my cousin and his boyfriend, and he'd never been to Disneyland before. He'd never even been to a really, really crowded theme park before. He's been to Six Flags, but not even on a crowded day. So Disneyland was a completely new concept for him, and he did not know what it was like. Well, as it turns out, as the day went on, I could see he was one of those people that does not like Disneyland. And so, he just didn't like the crowds. He didn't like... He couldn't appreciate the way the place looked. Not that he was incapable of appreciating it, but just that he didn't understand what the draw was. And that can happen for anybody. So I don't blame him, you know. So don't get mad at him. He's a good guy. But anyway, if you're one of those people who either doesn't like crowds or didn't realize you didn't like crowds because you'd never seen the amount of crowds that Disneyland gets, then here is what to do. So, assuming around 11 a.m., if you're already there in the park, you'll start noticing the crowds getting unbearable. Usually around that time, what I do is, first of all, if you know that you don't like crowds, get on as many rides, do as many things before 11 a.m. as possible. Then, once it starts to get around lunchtime, avoid eating, because everyone, for some reason, insists on eating between the hours of 11:30 and 1:30 p.m. I don't know what it is, but they can't hold off their hunger for another couple hours. So, so anyway, avoid the restaurants during that time. That is the worst time to go into a restaurant. You are guaranteed to be angry, okay? So avoid eating at that time. Eat something before 11 a.m. and then wait till like 2:30 or 3 p.m. to get your food. The next window of time that you should avoid eating is between, I would say, 4 o'clock and 6 p.m. In that 2-hour period, that is when the dinner time crowds are at their peak. It's really busy. Again, you are guaranteed to be disappointed when you're sitting in those lines and waiting for your food, and then your food is cold. So just be aware of that. But in between those two time periods, feel free to go to restaurants and stuff. Use the Disney Parks app for mobile ordering. Yes. But you might actually find that you may not need it. You see, I have avoided using mobile ordering all this time because I eat breakfast at 8 a.m., I eat lunch at 3 p.m., and I eat dinner at 7 or 8 p.m. So the restaurants are literally dead during those hours. I've never needed to use the Max Pass or even the, I'm sorry, not Max Pass, but the mobile ordering, because the restaurants are already like empty. So anywhoozin', so those are the time frames which you should eat. Now, rides. So 11 a.m. has come, the crowds are there. You should, okay, obviously you can't avoid the big popular rides, but what you should do is ride them in a moderate period of time. Don't expect to go on one big ride after another between the hours of 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. Okay? During that time, you should get a fast pass for big rides, but in between them, you should be doing very slow, moderate things like shows and things that people don't normally do. The general crowd, their, way of thinking is the middle of the day is when we should go on all the rides. And unfortunately, everyone's doing that. So therefore, the rides are very busy during that time. So what I do is, if it's 11 a.m., I get a fast pass for, like, let's say Space Mountain, right? The fast pass may not have me return until even as far as like 12:30 or 1 p.m. or even longer. So in that period of time, I suggest you go on slow stuff, like ride the Disneyland Railroad all the way around. Heck, take 2 trips just to relax because you just spent all morning eating and going on rides. So take the Disneyland Railroad, for instance, or go ride Winnie the Pooh. Generally, that line is no longer 20 minutes, generally. So try to do something like that. I know 20 minutes is a lot of time to wait for a, like a dark ride of that caliber, but nevertheless, it's something to do. Another thing you can do is you can go to the Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. It's a 20-minute long show. Yes, it is long. Yes, you might start falling asleep, but it's air conditioned. And it is entertaining if you stay awake. So it's really nice. It's one of those things that's there specifically because the rest of the park is busy. That's a controversy. But anyway, there's that. There's also the Sleeping Beauty Castle walkthrough. So you can do that. There's let's see. There's you know what else is fun? If you hate crowds, you might not like riding the submarine voyage in Tomorrow. But, but what you can do is go up to the front of the submarine voyage, tell them that you have claustrophobia, but you would still like to ride the ride. Quite often, they will let you use the alternate experience, which is a private room set off to the side of the ride where the entire ride is presented to you on a TV monitor. And it's in a themed room designed to look like a submarine side. So just sit in there and enjoy the ride of Finding Nemo without actually being in that crowded little submarine that smells like poop. So, yes. Chris also mentions the monorail. That is another good thing. The best times to ride the Disneyland monorail, and once again, it is transportation, but you can ride it like a ride, go around full circle, come back to Disneyland. The best times to do that is between 1:30 and 4:30 p.m. in the daytime. Those hours do vary, but that's generally the best time to ride it because anywhere from park opening until 1:30 p.m., everybody's rushing to get into Disneyland. So the monorails are busy. And then vice versa, between 4:30 all the way till park closing, people are leaving Disneyland. So the monorails are busy. But between those hours, in the middle of the daytime, when it's the hottest time of day, generally the monorails are not busy at all. And you can even ask to sit either in the cockpit with the pilot, or you can sit in the rear nose cone, both of which, by the way, are air conditioned. So, and you can sit in the cabin if you want, but it's likely not to be air conditioned. Also take that with a grain of salt because depending on how hot it is that day, the monorails may not be running in the middle of the day because the main cabins are not air conditioned and it's uncomfortable to seat people in like 90-degree or above weather in a monorail. So take that with a grain of salt, but nevertheless, if it's good weather, try it. So let's say you finally go on Space Mountain. You've been on a few rides or shows or whatever, and then right after you get off Space Mountain, quickly go and get a fast pass for something else. Let's just say, I don't know, it's the middle of the day, so try Splash Mountain. You can get a fast pass for that. Splash Mountain may not let you get back for another hour or two, depending on the time or whatever, but nevertheless, it's always worth a try. And it'll help cool you off later in the day. But more things to do waiting. You can ride, you can get on the either horseless carriages on Main Street, ride them down Main Street, or get on the omnibus or the horse-drawn streetcar, depending on if they're out. Another thing you can do is walk around Main Street. There's plenty of shops and things. They're all air conditioned. Check out the interesting merchandise and the really cool windows that they have all down Main Street, as well as there is the fire station right underneath Walt Disney's apartment next to City Hall. You can go in there, look around, see what it was like to be a fireman way back when everything was 5/8 scale. So let's see. Oh, the Disneyana shop is really cool. That's right to Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. You can walk in there. There's merchandise in the front, but if you go in the back, you will see lots of really amazing art pieces done by different artists, things like that, as well as a realistic or a real once working vault. What do they call that? Is it a vault?
Safe.
They kept money in there. Safe. There you go. They had a safe that used to be used in the 50s. So yes, that's there. So more things to do. Go to Tom Sawyer Island. Tom Sawyer Island is a great way to get away from the large crowds of Disneyland. Yes, you will have to stand on a crowded boat to get to the island, but once you're on the island, things are much more spaced out. Sometimes you can even find little nooks or crannies where you can just sit and relax. It's important to mention that when you hate crowds, you need to allot time every once in a while to sit in a place where there isn't very many people. That way you can get away from those crowds and have a little bit of you time. So some important places you can go where there's generally a lot less people. First one, most surprisingly, is Main Street Station at Disneyland. So at the Disneyland Railroad Main Street Station, they usually have benches out front of the station, either on the left or right of the station, or facing down Main Street. This is up on the platform, by the way. This isn't at ground level. Up on the platform, almost no one sits up there. I don't know why. Probably because they don't know what's up there. But you can sit up there on the main entrance platform at level with the station, and there's usually plenty of seats, and there's hardly any people who are standing around. That's one place. Another place, already mentioned, Tom Sawyer Island. Another place to kind of get away from people a little bit, if you're trapped in New Orleans Square, go to the courtyard at 21 Royal Street. So that's a great place to stand around, if just for a few minutes, because there's no place to sit there. Let's see. If you are no, I think they took that out. Let's see. Oh, yes. If you are near the Matterhorn, there is a place to sit underneath the monorail track just across from the Matterhorn, and it's over a pond. That place is called Fantasia Gardens, but it doesn't matter to you because you might not remember what it's called. But anyway, it is a little pier that sticks out over the pond, and there's a lot of seating there. It might be full of people eating, but the good news is that you're away from the loud music of the park. You're especially out of the way of the parade, because the parade might drive you nuts, and stuff like that. So there's plenty of places in the park to hang out and do things while you are waiting, especially if you go to like Toontown. There's places to walk. There's even a little park in Toontown where you can sit and relax. And you can also ask cast members. A lot of them know exactly where to go to avoid crowds during the daytime. But anyway, once there is a parade or something, you might want to avoid the center line of the park. That is where the parade route goes. And I like to ride the Disneyland Railroad during the parade, because it gets you away from the crowds of all the angry people who are trying to avoid the and so that's the best time to get on the Disneyland Road. Plus, you'll find that there's hardly anyone on the railroad during parade time. So try that. Also, if you plan on getting on the Disneyland, if you can help it, try to get on the railroad no matter what time of day at Main Street Station. Generally, there are a lot more seats available on the train at Main Street Station for various reasons, but nevertheless, it's a great place to get on the train. If you try to get on at New Orleans Square, you might find out you're waiting longer than normal. Let's see. Lynette says the outside patio at the Pizza Port or Pizza Planet now is usually not very crowded. Nice place to sit in the shade. Thanks, Lynette. Actually, I didn't know that, so that would help a lot. So Lynette was saying that if you go to the Pizza Planet restaurant in Tomorrowland, they have an outdoor outdoor patio. Actually, I think there's two. Isn't there one in the back and then? Well, anyway.
I don't know.
Yeah, there is. There's two. Okay, so anyway, one of those is bound to be empty. So go there, sit down, and relax. And then also a great thing to do during the middle of the day, window. So I really highly suggest you do that. Yes, the buildings are kind of crowded sometimes during the middle of the day, but nevertheless, they're air conditioned and it gets you away from waiting in line. So it's really important that you take these suggestions seriously, because if you don't and you try to just rush into things, you're gonna make yourself angry, you're gonna make the people in your party angry, and most importantly, you're gonna make me angry. No, I'm just kidding. No, you're gonna make people who are waiting around you in line angry, and it's just not good for anyone. You don't want to be angry at Disneyland. You're spending way too much money to be angry. So, or hangry, that too. Make sure you eat plenty of snacks. Don't be hangry. So, anyway, to conclude, after the fireworks happen, that's when things start to slow down, and then it gradually slows down closer towards the closing of the park. The last hour before the park officially closes for the day is usually like one of the best times of the day, unless you're there at 8:00 a.m. But nevertheless, one of the best times of the day, because that's when the park is at its least busiest in comparison to the rest of the day. And there's a higher chance of being able to go on plenty of rides and do things that you weren't normally able to do during the rest of the day. So get plenty of sleep and rest. And if you're one of those people that likes to nap during the daytime and your hotel is relatively close to the park enough that you don't mind going there, by all means, leave in the middle of the day and take a nap and come back later. Woo! That is... Oh, yes, and drink lots of water. Yes, that's what Chris says. Drink lots of water. And yeah, I already mentioned the castle walkthrough. So anyway, those are my suggestions.
Yeah. Thank you, Alex, for giving those wonderful suggestions on what to do in Disneyland if you hate crowds, which is like kind of a weird question to like ask. Why would you go to Disneyland if you hate crowds? But I guess you don't know if you won't know if you don't like it unless you do it. Did that make sense? I don't think that made any sense. Anyways.
I think what you mean to say is you don't know if you hate or don't hate crowds unless you try going there to see.
Yes, that's exactly what I meant to say. I don't know what I said, but it was not that.
It wasn't English either.
Yeah, so yeah, is that all we have for... I guess I'm trying to think of other things to do, but Alex really did cover all of them. There's the train, the monorail.
I didn't even mention, they have shows at Fantasyland Theater in the middle of the day. Yes. So, wait and show. There's if you got children with you, and they're young enough, or heck, I mean, even adults like it. If you go to Princess Fantasy Fair Village, they do these little like mock plays. They're not like a full-on theater production. It's like a little mini play where a princess acts out the main basic story of her movie with like 2 or 3 other actors. And it's kind of cool. It's not like a big production, but it's like watching like almost like if like your school elementary play had plenty of money. That's what it's like. It's kind of cool, so that's another thing you can do. I would suggest the Tiki Room because it's nice, but the Tiki Room is getting increasingly popular, so you might want to do the Tiki Room either early in the morning or late at night. It's not one of those things you want to do in the middle of the day.
Yeah. You can go for
and
a
there's
swim
also Main
in
Street
the...
Cinema.
Oh yeah.
Wrap
it all around. Yeah.
That.
Full circle.
Yeah.
You could also go for a swim in the rivers of America if you get parched.
Oh my god.
You can drink the water from the rivers of America. Just bring a straw.
Yeah.
They don't provide straws for you. You have to bring your own straw.
You
Learn
can
that
get
the hard
tetanus
way.
from the rivers.
Can you? Oh my gosh.
You can if people who have fallen in the have had to be taken to the hospital and are generally given a tetanus shot as a precaution.
I don't know what tetanus is. I've heard the word, but I don't know what it is.
Is I want to say a bacterial infection. It's most famously caused by like having some type of like contaminated metal pierce your skin.
Yeah.
But you can also get it from other things besides just contaminated metal. And the most susceptible people to getting tetanus are actually children and old people. And they're so susceptible, in fact, that's why you're almost required to have a tetanus shot like every 10 years just to make sure that you don't get it. If you get tetanus, there is a pretty high chance of fatality. I'm not going to say like it's guaranteed, but it's pretty high. So tetanus is serious, people. Take it seriously. Every 10 years, get your tetanus shot. It hurts like heck, but you are saving people's lives.
Saving your own life. Yeah, I guess that wraps up that topic. And let's go ahead and get on to...
tetanus.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and move on to our final topic, Alex. So
Me? I'm the topic?
I don't know where I was going with that. We don't have a last topic, but
What?
that's all we had, right? I'm pretty sure that's all that we planned for the show. We did the Main Street Cinema. We did the Galaxy's Edge stuff. Must do things in Galaxy's Edge. And then we just finished the crowds, if you hate crowds in Disneyland. So guys, do you think OJ did it? Write in the comments below if he did it. Yeah. I guess we can go ahead and move on to Matt reads fan fiction. I think after this story, after Nate finishes the Oink story, we're gonna not necessarily retire Matt Hosts Ghosts, but it'll be going on a little break, I think, because it's not really what it used to be anymore. If you guys don't know, Matt Hosts Ghosts was originally supposed to be a sort of like a spooky time where we can tell scary stories that happened to us, like if we saw ghosts one time when we were kids, or if we got like possessed by, I don't know, the devil or something. Now then would be the time to share it, but excuse me, yeah, it's sort of I don't even know the word. It's evolved into something much more than what I initially planned it to be. So yeah, after Nate finishes the Oink saga, I don't know how many parts there's going to be. I'm guessing there's going to be one more part after this. We're going to retire it until we can think of something to replace it with, I guess. But anyways, late night tinkles, yeah, whatever. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into, yeah, maybe we should just do them during Halloween time. I don't know. I'll think of something.
Yeah. I can, you know what would be really cool during Halloween? I could just retell my ghost stories.
Oh
every
yeah.
Halloween.
Okay.
It'll be like we'll turn it into like a tradition.
Okay. I like that. That's a good idea. If you guys missed, I don't know if I don't think a lot of people watched this episode, but it was the episode where I went to Disneyland in December. Alex and I did a Matt Hosts Ghosts, where we used a Ouija board. Do you remember that, Alex?
I do. Well, of course I remember that, mister.
Well, if you guys are interested in that kind of stuff, go back to that episode back in December. Like December, I want to say like the week of the 10th through the 13th maybe is when it came out. Anyways, yeah, we're going to go ahead and move on to Matt Hosts Ghosts. So, spooky.
Welcome to Matt Hosts Ghosts.
Well, everybody, it is about that time for Matt hosts fan fiction. We do have The Revenge of Oink, Chapter 2, written by Nate, who is a recurring author on this segment. So thank you to Nate for sending this in. This was from like the 2nd of June. So it's been a while since it's been sitting in my inbox, but we're gonna read it now. And this is Revenge of Oink, Chapter 2. If you don't know what Revenge of Oink is, go back maybe a couple episodes. You'll figure you'll eventually understand. So let's just go ahead and get into this. Burbank, California. Oink and Bobby Iger are at the Walt Disney Studios in Burbank, California. They were looking for someone who knew the location to the secret facility in the outskirts near Disneyland. During their research, they found a former Disney employee who knew where the secret facility was and held him hostage in Walt's office. The employee was Tom Staggs, former chairman of the Parks and Resorts, tossed out for siding with Tony Baxter. Bobby Iger says, "Tom, I need you to give us the location to this secret warehouse." Tom says, "Why should I help you? I wanted to live up to the legacy of Walt Disney and make the parks a hub of creativity, but all you saw were billboards to promote the newest acquisition. I will not help you." Bobby says, "I want to make this easy for you. If you tell me where the warehouse is, I'll find a way to get you back into the company. If not, I'll have to call Oink." Tom says, "I'm not saying a darn thing." Bobby says, "He's yours." Out of the darkness, Oink quietly steps into the room, donning a new outfit similar to Bane from The Dark Knight Rises. Underrated movie, by the way. In parentheses, that's what he wrote. Oink says, "Tom, I want to make you an offer you can't refuse." Tom says, "All the money in the world won't get me to say a thing." Oink chokes Tom and lifts him off the ground. Oink says, "Here is your offer, Tom. Tell me where the warehouse is, and I won't squeeze your brains out." Tom says faintly, "Never." Bobby Iger was almost sick to his stomach hearing the terrible noise of bone and cartilage breaking. Oink raided Walt's desk, hoping to find a possible clue, until he found the blueprints for a facility outside the city of Anaheim. Oink says, "Bobby Iger, let's go to Anaheim. I may have found the warehouse." Meanwhile, the Mountaineers have gathered for a meeting. Crazy says, "It's good to meet you, Mr. Baxter." Tony Baxter says, "Thank you, but call me Tony. Now, I've come here because I need your help. Disneyland may be in trouble once again. Bobby Iger has risen to turn the parks into billboards and wipe out creativity. We have begun to see this with the influx of dance parties within the parks. Bobby Iger is a threat far more powerful than we have ever dealt with. We need as much help as we can. Do you know of any other Mountaineers?" Matt says, "No." Tony says, "I know there are people willing to help us, but who?" Out of nowhere, someone came to help. The Dreamfinder says, "Just use your imagination, Tony Baxter. Hopefully that hasn't left." To be continued. Wonderful story. Thank you, Nate, for sending in the really wonderful. I really do love reading these. So thank you to Nate, who was in chat at some point during the episode. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Tune in probably next week or the week after for the continuing part of that saga. And I guess that is going to wrap up the episode, you guys. Next week, Jeremy is going to be on the episode. So stay tuned for that, because we always love having Jeremy on the show. Probably be a 3-hour podcast, so be prepared for that. But anyways, we do appreciate every single one of you coming out to listen to the episode, whether it be live on my second channel or whether you be listening on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, whatever podcasting app you happen to be using. Really does mean a lot to us. And Alex, do you have any final closing thoughts you'd like to say to the audience listening at home?
I don't think But thank you guys for joining us. And yeah, I can't think of anything.
All right, well, yeah, thank you guys for coming out. If you have any thoughts on any of the topics we discussed, whether it be the Main Street Cinema, removing all the merchandise, whether it be Star Wars Galaxy's Edge finally opening to the public, or whether you have some tips to give if you hate crowds, but often go to Disneyland, comment down below. I need to burp, but I'm holding it in right now. Whew, all right. It's past. Now I can finish the outro. But anyways, yeah, be sure to comment down below all your thoughts on all the topics we talked about. And as always, have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.
Goodbye, everybody.